on the sheet called Pre-Quiz 9.4, 9.5, we did the first problem already. We identified the sequences as arithmetic or geometric. We did that already. So now we're ready for number 2. All right, so everybody's where we're supposed to be? Who? So everybody on the page here where we're at? So find the indicated term or sum. So it says find a sub 11 of this sequence. The pre-quiz 9495, problem number 2, right where we left off. Right where we left off last time. All right, so we've got our list of formulas, and I'm going to give you the formulas. I'll write them all down here. You're going to have these in your possession. You just have to decide which one you're going to use. So we have term formulas, and then we have sum formulas. The sum formulas have the S's, and the term formulas are the A's. So our job is to find A sub 11. So right off the bat, would you agree you're going to be using one of these? A sub 11. So look at your sequence. What's happening? Multiplying by 3. So that makes it geometric, which means I'm going to use the very top formula in my list. So the 11th term will be the first term times the common ratio to what power? 10. So 1 times 3 to the 10th is 59,049. Okay with that, everyone? S sub 100. Okay, so you've narrowed it down. It's one of the bottom 2 formulas now, right? It's got to be one of these. What's going on in this sequence? Subtracting 3 or adding -3, which means it's arithmetic. So which of these 2 is the arithmetic one? This one? Kids, R, that's ratio. That's geometric. Okay? This is your arithmetic sum. So sum of 100. So 100 over 2. Right? What's A sub 1? 32. Oh no! What do I need here? A sub 100 or the last term? And I don't have it. So what do I do when I'm plugging into my formula and I discover I don't have all the information I need? I go back to my other arithmetic formula right here. And then over to the side or somewhere, I have to find the 100th term, A sub 100. So this formula says the first term, which is 32, minus D, so plus D, but D is -3. You said I'm adding -3. And then N minus 1 would be 99. 100 minus 1. So I got -265 when I did 32 minus 3 times 99. Right? Now is -265 my answer? No. That needs to come up and get plugged in right here. And now I can find my answer. So -265 plus 32, and then times 50. So So my answer is negative 11,650. Final answer to the problem. Did you get that? Okay, this has happened to us on several occasions. When you are using a formula and you don't have what you need, go to the other formula and it will help you. All right, find S. Well, you only have one formula that says S, right here. There's no sub on that. There's no little number down here. So that means you're using this one. Okay, so what do I need to know? For that formula, I need to know my first term, which is 5. And then I need to know my ratio. So look carefully at your sequence. What are we multiplying by to go from term to term in that sequence? One-third. Aren't we multiplying by 1/3? 5 times 1/3 is 5/3 times 1/3 is 5/9. So my ratio is 1/3. Now, it's up to you completely. I like to subtract this before I divide. So that'll be 5 over 2/3. But you can do it here as long as you put that in parentheses. Any way you do it, you should get 15 halves or 7½ as your final answer. Everybody get that? All right, next one looks pretty easy. A sub 2014. So we're going to use one of these. What's happening in this sequence? Adding 4, so that makes it arithmetic, which makes it this guy again. So A sub 2014 is my first term, which is 1, plus the common difference, which you just said was 4. And then what would n minus 1 be? 2013. And then I'll just type it in. $8,053. Everybody good? You need to stop and raise that hand or ask a question, guys, if you're confused by something that's happening here. All right, next question says S sub 6. So that's your clue. You're going to look at your S sub formulas. So it's going to be one of these two right here. Well, which one? Well, that depends what's happening in the sequence. What's happening in this one? We're multiplying by 4, which means it's geometric, which means it's this one. The R is 4, the ratio is 4. All right, so here we go. The formula says, I'm using this bottom formula right here. It says take your first term minus your first term times your ratio to the nth over 1 minus your ratio. So look at that carefully and make sure you are clear on where those numbers came from. Everybody good with the numbers? Now, before I go to type this in, I'm going to go ahead and subtract that denominator and make that a -3. But these are the ones you have to be real careful when you type it in. You can go ahead and type in the top just like it says, but hit equals before you divide. So 2 minus 2 times 4 to the 6th equals, and then divided by -3. 2730 is what I got as my sum. Anybody else get that? 2730? If you didn't get that, make sure that you hit equals after you type all this in, and then divide it by. Okay? All right, now find the limit. Okay, here we go. What do you think about A? Uh-oh. What do you think? No limit. It's divergent. There's no limit. Now, why is that? When you have a number to a power, you have to look at that number and decide what. Is it bigger than 1 or less than 1? And I'm talking about absolute value, so the negative doesn't count. You have a 6 in there. Is 6 bigger than 1? Yes. And when you have a number bigger than 1 that you are raising to a power, there is no limit. Right? All right, what about B? Be careful, I'm trying to be tricky. 3/2. The limit is 3/2. The big N's, the only N's, are the 3n over the 2n, right? So that's 3/2. What about C? 0. What is the biggest power in the problem? N cubed, and you don't have any on the top. So it's 0/4, which is 0. All right, what about D? Zero. All right, let me say this again. When you have a problem where something is being raised to a power, only one thing matters. Is he bigger than 1 or less than 1? If he's bigger than 1, there's no limit. If he's less than 1, the limit is 0. Is 3/5 bigger than 1 or less than 1? Less than. So the limit is 0. Okay? This problem right here will either be divergent or have a limit of 0. There's no other options. What about E? Divergent. Why? It is divergent. Why? The top has an n squared and the bottom does not. So 3/0 can't do that, right? We can't do that, 3/0. Find the explicit rule. Now, the explicit rule just means write the formula. And we talked about this last time, but you may have forgotten, that all you have to do, it's going to be one of these, and all you have to do is put in your first term and your difference or your ratio, depending on if it's arithmetic or geometric. So, what is A? Problem A, 4A. Geometric. So I'm going to take this formula right here, this top formula. All I'm going to do is plug in my first term, which is 2, and my ratio, which is 3, and that's it. That's the explicit rule. That's the formula. That's all you have to do. Now, sometimes we have to clean it up a little bit, but not this one, because these don't multiply. Whatever you do, do not multiply these together. This one has an exponent, this one doesn't, so you're done right here. Now, what's happening in problem B? You're adding 4. So I'm going to use this second formula here, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to plug in my first term, which is -7. I'm going to plug in my difference, which you said is 4, and that's it. So I plug in my first term and my difference. Now that one can be cleaned up because you can distribute. And when you distribute, it turns out you can collect like terms. So your explicit rule is 4n minus 11, or -11 plus 4n, if you want to write it like that. Everybody okay with that? All right, number 5. This is the toughie, but this is the one where you have some flexibility. You do not have to do it any particular way. Your job is to figure out a sub 200. So ultimately, this is what you got to find. The 200th number in the list. Now, what does your list look like? Well, you don't know the first 3 terms, but you know the 4th term is 2. You don't know the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th, but you know the 10th term is 26. Now, I don't care if you write all that out or not. That's what it looks like if you do. So you know the 4th term, and you know the 10th term. And you got to find the 200th term. And you know it's arithmetic. Which means what? What does arithmetic mean? We're adding by something, right? So we got to get from 2 to 26, and we have to add. Now let's think about this for a second. Maybe be logical, but we could trial and error. You could absolutely trial and error. But let's think about this. I have to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Right? And the total of that has to be 24. I got to get from 2 to 26. Isn't that 24? And I got to do it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. So if I got to go a distance of 24 in 6 steps, how big is each step? 4? Right? Does that make sense to everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps to go from 2 to 26. So this term would be 6, and 10, and 14, and 18, and 22, and 26. Perfect. How am I going to find the 200th term? I don't really want to keep adding 4 all the way out to 200. Can I use a formula? Which formula would I use up here on the board? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? 4. Now, 4 is the right kind of formula type, but it's the wrong one. This is an arithmetic formula, but I want a sub 200. I don't want to add all these, and this formula adds up. See that S? It stands for sum. So I want this one. This is an A formula for arithmetic. What do I need to know to use this formula? A sub 200, what do I need to know? I need, oh shoot, I don't know the first term. How am I going to figure out the first term? If I added 4 going that way, then I'll minus 4, minus 4, minus 4. Does that make sense to you? So the 200th term is negative 10 plus the common difference, which was 4, times what's n minus 1 going to be? 199. Remember, kids, in the formula, it's a sub n. So n is 200 in this problem. So n minus 1 is 199. All right, so what's the 200th term? You get 795. Oh, wait, no. Just a minute, that's not right. You get 786. Yeah. I hit negative 1 instead of negative 10. Now, does anybody have a question about that? I did not do it the math way. I did not set up a system of equations. We just kind of thought about it. Just thinking is good. All right, now we're going to write 0.72 as a fraction in lowest terms. 0.72 repeating. We use formulas for all these problems. Which formula do I use for a repeating decimal? Which of these formulas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do I use for a repeating decimal? 3. And that makes perfectly good sense because repeating decimals go on forever and ever and ever. That's infinitely. And this is my infinite formula. So here we go. My repeating decimal is 0.72. So what's the first term? 0.72. What's the ratio? 0.01. Very good. Why is it 0.01? Because there are 2 decimal places repeating. What's 1 minus 0.01? 0.99. Remember, you can move the decimal out of the way, so that'd be 72 over 99. Reduce it if it reduces. Can 72 and 99 be divided by something? How about 9? So that is 8 over 11. Now you can check that real easily on your calculator. If you do 8 divided by 11, you should get this. 72, 72, 72, 72. Did you? Perfect. All right. So the good news is we have another one to practice. All right. Here we go. Identify the sequence as arithmetic, geometric, or neither. And then I'm going to add, if it's arithmetic, give the difference. If it's geometric, give the ratio. All right, so here we go. Let's look at the first one. Now, do anybody find a pattern in it? What's the pattern, Maggie?
U times 2, then U times 3, then U times 4, then U times 5.
Okay, so she's got a pattern. Does having a pattern make it arithmetic or geometric though? No. What do you, if you're gonna be arithmetic, you have to add the same number over, and if you're gonna be geometric, you have to multiply the same number. Is this one either one? No, this is a neither. This is a neither. By the way, those are the factorial numbers, 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, 4 factorial, in case you are interested. But they're not arithmetic or geometric. All right, what about B?
Neither.
Okay, I hear some geometric and I hear some neither.
Geometric 4/5.
Geometric multiplying by 4/5. Now, some of you, the minute you see a fraction, you like freak out. But what happens if you take 5 times 4/5, guys? Don't these cancel?
Yep.
And that leaves you with 4. What happens when you take 4 times 4/5? You get 16 over 5.
Yep.
So the ratio is geometric, and the ratio is 4/5. You're multiplying by 4/5. How about C? Arithmetic, and the difference is -8. We're going down by 8. So if you were using your arithmetic formula for D, you would put in -8. That's the difference, -8. All right, everybody okay with part 1? Remember, you have to multiply by the same number or add the same number. That's what makes you arithmetic or geometric, the same number. Okay. All right, find the indicated term or sum. So we're using our formulas here. What's the first thing that's going through your mind? Is it arithmetic or geometric? Because you need to know that to know which formula to use. So what do you think? Arithmetic with a difference of 3. So this is my arithmetic formula right here. So A sub 2015 will be the first term plus the common difference times 2014. Perfect. I got 6,044. Guys, are you staying with us here? Everybody okay? All right, next. Find S. Well, that narrows it down. There's only one formula with a plain S, and it's this one. So what do I have to know? To use that formula, I have to know my first term, which is 4. But then I have to know my ratio. So here's another one with fractions. What's happening? Multiply by 3/4. You can really see that if you look at the last two. We're going from 9/4 to 27/16. We're multiplying by 3/4. So I like to, when I have this situation, I like to go ahead and subtract my denominator. You don't have to, just make sure you have that in parentheses. Either way, you better get 16 as your answer. Any question about something I did there? another A formula, A sub 13. So I know I'm using one of these in the box. These are my A formulas, my term formulas. What's happening in this sequence? Multiplying by 2. So I'm going to use the top one. And the top one says take the first term times the ratio to what power? 12, n minus 1. $24,576. Any questions? Easy peasy, all right. Find S sub 213. All right, so that's an S sub, so it's one of these down here. How am I going here from term to term? It looks like I am subtracting 10. So it's going to be this one right here, this formula. This is my arithmetic sum. So the sum of 213 is 213 over 2 times the first term, which is 1,000, plus, oh no, what do I need here? I need the 213th term, the last term, and I don't have that, do I? So what do? I go over and use the other formula. So over to the side somewhere, I'm going to figure out that the 213th term, the last term, in other words, the last term, is going to be the first term plus the common difference times 212. Now look at that, make sure you are following that. I got 1,120 negative. Now it happens every time. We get so excited because we got our answer, we put that in the answer blank. No, remember, this was the side work. What do I do with that? That one gets plugged in right here. And that now, I'm going to work all that out, and that will be my answer. So my final answer is negative 12,780. Did you get that? Anybody else? So don't just copy it down. I could have made a mistake. I want somebody to double check me. Oh gosh, Josh, you got me thinking about lunch. My stomach's growling for some reason.
You hungry? Did you ever get
I ate what I always eat.
What do you eat?
Bowl of oatmeal
Really?
every morning.
Okay.
What kind of sugar?
I use, some days I use real oatmeal, but usually it's instant.
The small packet thing?
Yeah.
What flavor? The brown sugar?
I get the low sugar, reduced sugar, brown sugar, cinnamon, or something.
Yeah, that's the one I get.
Kroger brand, every day. All right, anybody else get negative 12,780? All right, perfect.
Wow.
This has happened to us on all 3 practices, folks. We started work on a formula, and we ended up needing some other information, so we had to use another formula and plug it in. What do our tests always look like? The practice, yeah. So I would guess that's going to happen to you. All right, S sub 8. Narrows it down. I'm using one of these 2 formulas at the bottom. These are my S sub formulas. What's happening in this sequence? multiplying by 3. All right, let's plug our numbers in. First term minus first term times ratio to the 8th over 1 minus the ratio. All right, make sure you understand where those numbers came from. This is my formula. That's what I got. And now I'm going to figure it out. These are the ones I like to go ahead and subtract first. You don't have to do that. But remember, if you don't, you got to use parentheses. Okay, type in the top and equals 2 minus 2 times 3 to the 8th equals, divided by negative 2, 6,560 is what I got. Questions? Bless you. All right, got some units. Take a couple minutes, fill in your answers, and we'll check them. All right, anybody have an answer to number 1 or A? 3A? 0. Very good. Did everybody in this room put 0? Because 2/3 is less than 1. Perfect. How about B? No limit. Divergent. No limit. Because 3/2 is more than 1. All right, what about C? Negative 2 over 3. Don't lose the negative. Negative 2 over 3. Everybody good with that one? How about D?
Divergent.
Divergent. No limit. Because you have n squareds on top, but 0 n squareds on the bottom. And when there's something over 0, that can't work. So there's no limit. Good. What about E? 0. Because now you've got 0 n squareds on the top. And that is 0. And the last one, F? 6 over 7. Perfect. 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 Any question about those limit problems? There's not much partial credit on those folks, so we want to make sure you know how to do them so we get the right answer. All right, I need an explicit rule for 4A. Now, again, we just talked about this. That means I need an A sub n formula. It's arithmetic. So I plug in 32 for my first term. What's my common difference? Negative 3. And that's all I plug in. I plugged in my first term and my difference. Now, if I can do more, I do more. I can distribute. I can add 32 and 3. And there it is. There's your explicit formula. Is everybody okay with that? Guys, you all right?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, how about the next one? 2, 8, 32. What's happening there? Multiplying by 4. So my explicit formula, which is the top one this time, will say take the first term times the ratio to the n minus first. I plugged in my first term and I plugged in my ratio and I am done. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth term is 22. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the 11th term is 46. And you are finding the 200th term. Now, they do tell me it's arithmetic, which means I'm adding. To get from 22 to 46, I'm adding something. How many times am I adding it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times? How much total is it? I'm going from 22 to 46. How far is that? 24. So I'm doing a total distance of 24, but I'm doing it in 6 steps, 6 equal steps. So how big is each step? 4. So I'm adding 4, and 4, and 4, and 4, and 4, and 4. Perfect. But I need the 200th term, which is way down the line. So I think I'll use a formula. It's arithmetic. So I'm going to use this formula right here. Shoot, what do I need to know?
The first term.
The first term, which I don't have, but going that way, I kept adding 4. So to get back here, I will just subtract 4, so this would be 18, 14, 10, I got 6. Did you get 6? So my first term is 6. My common difference is 4. And n minus 1 will be 199. 200 minus 1. 802. All right, who's got a question about that? No one?
What do you do if you can't just like automatically guess it? Did you say that there was a formula to get it?
There's no formula to do it. We can use our formula, the ones we already have to do it. But I didn't really guess this time. I mean, I wasn't guessing, I was being logical. So I had to get from 22 to 46.
So you're able to do that every time?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yes. Okay? Random guessing, Avery, would be, I know it's arithmetic, so I know I'm gonna be adding, so I can just guess, okay, I'm gonna add 2. Add 2, add 2, add 2, add 2. It doesn't get me to 46. So then maybe add 3. That didn't work. So then I had 4, and that worked. Well, instead of random guessing, I counted. All right, one more. What is it? 0.3 repeating 2's. 0.3 repeating 2's. This is a harder one than our last one because the 0.3 doesn't repeat. So do you remember what we do when we have a non-repeating component, Maddie?
You just do 0.02
Yeah,
over.
exactly. So I pull that 0.3 off, and he's going to have to be separate. And then I've got 0.02, 0.002, and so on. That's what I'm actually adding up, is the 0.02222 part. So my first term is right there. My first term is 0.02. But what's my ratio? Be careful. 0.1. My ratio is just 0.1 because how many decimal places actually repeat? 1. And that's how you tell. So 0.02 over 0.9. Move the decimal, so it would be 2 over 90. Remember, I gotta move it 2 places, right? And 2 over 90 is 1 over 45. Remember, you're coming up with a fraction, guys. Your answer is a fraction. All right, 1 divided by 45. Let's check it. Oh, wait, I'm not done. Oh, shoot, what did I forget? I gotta add him in, don't I? So this is just the decimal part. I need to take my 1/45 and add my 3/10. Oh, I guess my common denominator would be 90. You could use another common denominator. There are lots of them, but 90 is the smallest one.
Can you just keep it 2 over 90 instead of doing?
Yeah, that would make it easier. I forgot totally about this guy when I was doing that. So 2 over 90 plus 27 over 90 gives me 29 over 90. Now, check that on your calculator. 29 divided by 90 better give you 0.3 222s. Does it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we have been through basically 2 whole practice quizzes. So next time we'll have our actual quiz, next class period. It's not a full test, but it's bigger than a quiz. It's like these guys. It's like we've been doing here. Is there anything that we did? We did most everything twice. Is there anything that you need more practice on? Of those kinds of problems we just did. Okay, well, you got the rest of the time then to get your homework caught up or study or